Hello and welcome to Overdrive. Now it is the Independence Day weekend and we are celebrating, but obviously with a bit of motor racing. And that's why we are here at Silverstone, base of India's Formula One team, the Force India Formula One team. Over the next half hour, we'll be talking to the engineers, we'll be talking to the drivers, but first we'll speak to the man himself. I have one very clear objective. At the Indian Grand Prix, Force India has to be on the podium. That bold statement was made 3 years ago and nobody gave Mallya a hope in hell. In 2007, the Spiker Ferrari F1 team that Mallya bought into scored just 1 point. In 2008, Force India's debut year, they scored 0 points. But through some major shake-ups, intelligent technical partnerships and radical reorganization, Force India F1 is now a regular point scorer, even having made a trip to the podium last year. And it is all down to one man's focus and visionary drive. Let's hear him talk about the journey. Dr. Mallya, welcome to Overdrive. Now we'll go through the bits and pieces of having a Formula One team. But end of the day, it's all about national pride, about flying the tricolour in the Premier League of motor racing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Formula One for decades has been considered in India as being completely out of reach of Indians, perceived as being extraordinarily expensive, which perhaps it is. An average motorsport enthusiast in India, of which there are many now, thought that, okay, Formula One is a notch beyond our capabilities or our reach. So when I bought the team, I could have called it Kingfisher, I could have called it Royal Challenge or whatever, but I said, Force India meets the aspirations of millions of young, upwardly mobile, aspirational Indians. And so I said, okay, it should be Force India. First time ever in history that an Indian entry is on the World Championship grid in Formula One. I never regret that decision.
So what made you jump into Formula One? You obviously came in as a sponsor of the Toyota F1 team, but from there, moving to ownership of a Formula One team is a huge step up, isn't it?
Yeah, we actually started sponsoring Formula One back in 1995 when Kingfisher sponsored the Benetton Formula One team, and we had actually Michael Schumacher as one of our drivers. And then I sponsored the Panasonic Toyota Formula One team. That's because we believe that Formula One gives you the global television coverage and advertising potential. It's the biggest bang for your buck in terms of spend. When the opportunity came to buy the Spiker team, I considered it, and that's how I got involved.
Your first year in Formula One, it wasn't easy. You were at the tail end of the grid. Was that a difficult period for you, or you were just biding your time and waiting for the upgrades that you had planned to take Force the year after?
We bought the team at the end of the 2007 season, and we basically inherited everything. The car was effectively a Spiker car. The whole management was the Spiker management. And of course, I sat down very early in the 2008 season and asked them what they intended to do during the season. Several promises, no results. So I had to take some pretty radical decisions. So I made, a vast management change, technical change, and the team got new direction. Even though I had to rename the team when I bought it, 2008 was not a true Force India year in Formula One. So Force India, in its true spirit and direction, has been actually racing since 2009. And we scored 13 points in 2009. We had a podium finish, a pole position, a fastest lap, all of which was a bonus, but nevertheless, we proved the point that we could score points.
You also said that you wanted to see an Indian team on the podium of the Indian Grand Prix.
Yeah, absolutely, because then I also said that in 2010, we should regularly score points. And we have scored points, I think, in every race except one. We're up to 47 World Championship points. I think that's more than this team has had in 10 plus years. And, we're currently 6th in the World Championship, which is something that many people on the grid believe it's kind of miraculous. So we know we've got a very good car. It's super quick on the straights particularly, so some circuits will suit us very well. But in our development process, we've got to make sure that we take care of the corners as well, and that's an aerodynamic job. But for being in Formula One for literally, as I would say, 1.5 seasons, I think we're doing remarkably well.
Now, every race weekend, we see you on the pit wall. What is it exactly that you do on the pit wall? What is the...
The pit wall is basically all about sort of managing the race on a second-to-second basis. We go into the race with a particular strategy, tires, which lap to come in, and stuff like that. But then unusual things happen. You have a safety car, and then you might use that safety car period to change tires. You may not. You're constantly watching what other teams are doing, particularly those who are competing with you. So you look at whether you want to stay longer on the same set of tires. We're in constant communication with the driver, so we get a lot of feedback on what's going on. The telemetry monitors the performance of the car, various parameters. If we see a problem or detect a problem, we look at engine temperatures, advise the driver on, to cool down the engine, turn it down, turn it up. So it's constant activity, and of course, you're in the center of all the action.
Yeah. So it pumps up your adrenaline and...
It does.
When you met 2 years ago at Hockenheim, you spoke about a driver development program that you're going to initiate in India. Have you started that off?
The plans are very well advanced. We should be announcing it shortly. It's going to be a fantastic program. It's going to be a pan-India program, well advertised. We're going to, ask for young applicants. We're going to give them a fair and equal chance to prove their, raw talent. So, as I said, we want to create an Indian like McLaren created Lewis Hamilton. And my famous lines are, amongst 1.2 billion people, there's got to be a Lewis Hamilton somewhere.
Yeah. So how many years do you see before you identify? 5 years?
If I find a wonder kid next year, in 3 or 4 years, he could be sitting in one of these cars.
And how important is it for India to have a Formula One track?
Oh, it's very important because, at the end of the day, India has changed a lot. From a country that was pretty much just sort of cricket crazy, you now have a whole new generation, the young demographics in our country. These people are watching more and more of Western sport, and Formula One is grabbing the most serious attention. And now with the Commonwealth Games, which hopefully goes off well, and then followed next year by the first Formula One Grand Prix, I think India will put a great stamp on the sporting world.
Finally, Dr. Mallya, what are your goals for this season and for the coming seasons?
Well, as I said, I'd like to be 5th in the World Championship this year. That means catching Renault. If not, I think it's hopefully going to be 6th. That's a huge, huge step forward from where we started. And next year, I hope podiums will be regular.
All the best, Dr. Mallya. And thank you for being on Overdrive.
Okay, all the best.
Up next, we are given exclusive behind-the-doors access to Force India's facilities at Silverstone, and we look into how a front-running Formula One car is built.